WCSH 6, this is 207.
The year 1966. Running for governor, a young Democrat named Ken Curtis. Curtis asked Senator Robert Kennedy to come to Maine to campaign for him. Kennedy said he'd do it and drew a crowd that packed Portland City Hall.
Bobby Kennedy was he was a very kind of glib, straightforward guy, and I remember it was awfully cold, and we were riding in a convertible, and he turned around to me and said, "I know why you're out here in the cold, but I can't for the life of me understand why I am."
In early 1968, Kennedy was the one running for office.
I am announcing today my candidacy for the presidency of the United States. I do not run for the presidency merely to oppose any man, but to propose new policy.
Kennedy supporters in Maine swung into action. One of them was Joe Angelone, who ran pizza shops for a living and on the side raised money for Democratic candidates, among them Bobby Kennedy.
There's something about Bobby when you walked into a room and he was sitting there with his sleeves rolled up and his collar unbuttoned and tied pulled down. There was like an energy you could feel, like he was moving even though he was sitting down. He was that type of a guy.
Ken Curtis returned a favor and hit the campaign trail for Kennedy.
I remembered before I made my first trip to California that I asked him, what he wanted me to cover and say, and there was hesitation on the other end of the line. He said, "I thought you were for me." And I said, "I am, or I wouldn't be going to California." And he said, "Well, just tell the people why you're for me."
Maine businessman and longtime Kennedy family friend Robert Dunfey worked alongside Bobby in the frenzied crowds.
A lot of us advanced people were being pushed aside, cast aside, and we had a heck of a time trying to keep him steady, and oftentimes he would slip, and they would just tug at his shirt and take his buttons off the shirt and things like that, and his hands were always constantly beat up from people shaking his hands.
As a campaigner that year, Kennedy was riveting. Matthew Storin covered him as a young reporter in Washington.
The way he spoke, he didn't have a powerful voice like Jesse Jackson, but it was like hearing the words of the prophet sometimes, I think, for a number of people. And he was no prophet and he was no God. I'm not trying to say that. He was a politician. But the net effect of all of these factors was just magnetic.
We campaigned for a couple of days out in Salem, Oregon, Portland, Oregon. In fact, that was the last time we both met Bobby Kennedy. That was in the lobby of the hotel. He was with Larry O'Brien, and we asked him how things were going. He says, "Oh, they're going fine." He says, "I'm a little afraid about Oregon, but I feel good about California."
Early in the morning on June 5th, Kennedy spoke to supporters after winning the crucial California primary.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there. Thank you.
Senator Kennedy has been shot. Is that possible? Is that possible? It could. Is it possible, ladies and gentlemen? It is possible. He has not only Senator Kennedy. Oh my God. Senator Kennedy has been shot.
First of all, I didn't think he was going to die. I said, there can't be.
I've always said I think Bobby Kennedy was the only candidate I ever knew where I would quit my job, get a sleeping bag, and like the McCarthy people, and travel all over the country just to try to do something for him, because I just felt he was an individual that offered hope for this country and humanity in general.
Those of us who loved him and who take him to his rest today pray that what he was to us, what he wished for others, will someday come to pass for all the world.
Toward the end of the eulogy, Teddy said something about, as my brother said, in many towns and villages across the country, and he used a quote, and I think there was not a dry eye in the press corps at that particular time.
As he said many times in many parts of this nation, to those he touched and who sought to touch him, Some men see things as they are and say why. I dream things that never were and say why not.